My best friends at Broad Street School in the beginning, I mean, I have clear memories of kindergarten. And interestingly enough, one of the girls that I remember distinctly were Lucille Fendelson, who's still with us at this date. And she had long blonde curls. And I have vivid memories of standing with her in kindergarten. I don't know how many people can say that, but it's interesting to me that later on, when I was a Boy Scout leader, years later, I dated one of the Scoutmaster's daughters who came on a visiting day, and she lived in Plainfield. And when I asked my father for the car, he said, "Do you have to go to Plainfield to have a date? Why can't you have a date in Norwich, Connecticut?" I said, anyway, her name was Lucille, and I ended up marrying a girl named Lucille. There's a trilogy there somewhere. But my best friends were David Foster and Frank Barbarossa and Sidney Wallish and some of these guys, Lincoln Parks. They were a part of my past for a few years, and then I moved on, or they moved on, and then many of those friendships disintegrate. They don't follow you as you get older and move on to another school or another town or high school. But one of my big memories of Broad Street School was that many of us would go to the movies on Saturday for the matinees, and there would be a cartoon and a serial and two features and a cowboy and this and that. And you could spend the whole afternoon in the movies. And then the important part about going to the movies was that there would be a serial. And the serial would be a Western or a space or a jungle or whatever the scenario was. And the hero was certainly going to die each week because of what they did to him. And then on Monday morning, Monday morning, when we'd be in the schoolyard, we would say, "Now, how is Dick Tracy going to get out of this?" And everybody had an opinion. We'd stand around in a circle. How is he? He's got to be able to get away. We got 9 more chapters to go. Well, sure enough, the movie people were smarter than we were, and they would change it a little bit, and somehow he escaped. But that was a big part of our growing up, was those serials and those Western movies and so forth. One little thing I would like to talk about for a short time is that I had a big brother, 5 1/4 years older, and I got the hand-me-downs. I got a bicycle that didn't work, that was falling apart. I got clothes that didn't fit me because he was much bigger than me. And I didn't get hand-me-downs from my sister because that would be really different. But the hand-me-downs I got, sometimes I could use. The other thing about Broad Street School were the quality of the teachers. There wasn't anybody that I can recall that didn't learn how to read, or didn't learn simple math, or didn't learn some geography. So the teachers that I had in the 1930s at the elementary school were all products of teacher training institutions. And they were taught methods. Some could play the piano, some were more musical than others. But when I think back, I didn't particularly like them all, but I have to give them credit because they taught me to read. And knowing how to read was a very important thing in my life. I didn't know it was going to lead to my own being an author or a writer or a columnist, but I'm sure that had something to do with the people that taught me how to read in the first place. I want to talk for a minute about during that period. I'm in the 1930s now. My dad had a store in downtown Norwich, and the store was a very important part of our lives. My father made his living in a number of ways. He knew how to make money, and perhaps later in this story, I'd be happy to discuss that. But watching my brother always having a sound of change in his pocket as we would walk down to the store. And I would ask him, where did you get that money? I'd like to have money in my pocket. So I don't have to ask my parents if I can have a nickel for a candy bar. I would like to have money in my pocket. Where did you get that money? I would ask my brother. He'd say, well, I worked in the store. And when you get a little older, you'll work in the store. And you'll have money in your pocket to do whatever you wanted to do. Money was important to me, not in the big picture, but just growing up so I could be independent and buy soda or penny candy if I wanted it. That would make me feel grown up. And sure enough, as time went by, I took my turn in the store as my brother took his. And anyway, I wanted to mention the store where my father had hoped that one or both of his sons would go into the store, and the bottom line is neither one of us did.